See if this works. Hey, testing. Let me know if you can hear me. Also, let me know if you can actually see the video. I can't really see if it's working. I wanted to tap in. I haven't been on Instagram in like weeks. I haven't been on Instagram in weeks. Shout out to Alyssa. There's no blueprint for being you. That's 100%. I was just listening to the podcast. What I've been doing is just focusing all my time on bringing the podcast back and like really doubling down on how I want to move forward with it. Really doubling down and like making a better experience and making it my main focus. Making my main focus. I miss it. I miss it dearly. But I wanted to make sure before I do it again, I do it in a way that's going to be sustainable, and I do it with a vision that's going to last longer. So it's a beautiful thing. Hey, shout out to Florida. Got a lot of people in here. I love it. We got Puerto Rico in here. Love it. Man, I love that. I love seeing how many different people from all over the world tap into these live streams. You got no blueprint for being you? That's a tattoo? That's amazing. I love that. You gotta send me a picture of that. That's cool. We got Dallas, Texas in the building. Hey, Ontario, Montreal. Shout out to all my Canadians. We got New York. You got big New York in the building. Oh man, I want to come back to New York in the summer. I actually just got back from Japan like 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago. And Japan was like beyond an amazing experience. To the point I was like, I would live in Japan. I actually felt like that. And I never thought I would say that about an Asian country. And no knock to Asian countries. I just didn't think it would ever be my vibe. But when I was in Japan, I'm like, I could spend some real time here. And it just reminded me of how much I really love to travel. So my new thing is try to get at least 4 or 5 more trips in this year and go back to Japan before the year is over. But I'm actually going to Africa in June for an opportunity that I just got. I'm gonna be going to Kenya, so that's gonna be an amazing thing. I'm actually want to shoot some of my podcasts out there, so I think it would be cool to immerse myself in like in Africa, filming my podcast. That's just wild to me. That's like literally wild. Hey, shout out to all the hearts out there. Yeah, I see y'all. Vlog the Japan trip. You know what's crazy? I was filming in Japan, but in the past when I would travel, like even if you scroll down on my Instagram, like years ago, I would document everything on my travels. I love to view the world through my lens, through my viewfinder. But now, when I'm traveling, I find majority of the time I want to be a lot more present. Vlogging takes me out of that presence. You know what I'm saying? So I do film, but I don't actually enjoy the vlogging style. Like, hey guys, this is what I'm doing, blah 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 blah. I'd rather just like film certain things and do like a documentary podcast vlog style. But I had to kind of honor like when I'm traveling and I don't feel like filming, I kind of have to honor that and just like take in everything with my eyes. I realize everything doesn't have to be posted, everything doesn't have to be captured. And sometimes it's just like certain things, like you'll see things with your eyes when you're traveling. You're like, this is so beautiful. And then you pull the camera out or like your phone out and you're like, it just doesn't look the same through the lens. And I'm like, you know what? That means for me, I just need to take this experience in for myself. So I am gonna post some Japan content for sure. But I took my daughter with me, so it wasn't even like a work trip or like a content creation trip. It was actually a trip to bring my daughter to open her mind. She loves anime. She likes Japanese culture already. So I was like, you know what? Take her to Japan. Let's inspire her. So the trip was more actually leaned towards, you know, um, just opening my daughter's mind up and like inspiring her spirit. So maybe the next trip I'll film a little bit more. Someone says we need a house tour. Sure, yeah. I mean, I'm not in my house right now. This is my studio, and the studio is very small, so it's actually just like a bunch of equipment around and stuff like that. I can do a tour in the summer. Um, and my actual house, it's more of a vibe now. The living room is together. The walls still need like art and stuff, so I can start to do that stuff. Like for a while, I was just like, I don't want to do lifestyle content. Like there's certain areas of my life I kind of like just keeping secret. But I think when the sun comes out and like the summer starts to hit, it's gonna warm me up to those type of videos a little bit more. But you know, at the moment, I'm more just focused on like kind of doing the podcast. I'm like, I'd rather just like kind of focus on my podcast. I think that's where a lot of I think it's more valuable. I think audio content is almost more valuable in a way too because I like how people can listen to the content. I mean, listen to the podcast, and they can work out. They can do their yoga. They can be driving to work. They can be going for a walk. They can still be present in their life and not necessarily staring at the screen. Which nothing is wrong with looking at a screen when you're getting value from it. But the podcast can like people can take it anywhere with them, so taking this break, I realized the value in that and how I want to double down on that in my contribution to the world. How do you vibe it so much? Everyone says keep it private. Yeah, I'm a private person, even though I be online, I'm actually pretty private. um, but yeah, I had to take a break from the podcast because I was just doing too much. It wasn't sustainable for me. And sometimes you gotta like, walk away from something before resentment manifests uh resentment manifests for it. And I think if I continued to force myself to do it, I would have started to resent it and maybe never come back. So man, I was like writing for hours today and doing like sound design, and I'm like, oh my god, this time doing the podcast is gonna take a lot more work, but I'm excited. It'll be really good. How can we find you in Vancouver, specifically for like motivation sessions? That's a good question. I don't know. I guess I would have to do some type of event. That is in the cards at some point. I'm not sure when, but it is in the cards. It is something I would like to do. Are you filming this on your phone? No, no, no. This is actually with my camera. Yeah, it's with my camera. I don't, to be honest, I'm old school. Like I'm shit. I'm shit when it comes to my phone. Like iPhone photography and iPhone videography is just like I'm not the best with it. Uh, I don't know. I'm like an older school generation where like I just love my camera. I like lights. I like mics. I do want to learn how to use the iPhone though, but I just don't get the image I personally want. But sometimes I notice the freedom people have in creating with an iPhone because they could just take it anywhere. It's quick, and me, it's like I'm very much more of a at this moment in my life, I'm very much more of a studio creator. I like being in my studio. I like having a setup. And I had to just be real myself. I'm like, you like for me, I'm like, man, you don't have to do every type of content creation. You see that online. It's like, I don't need to do the travel vlogs. I don't need to do this type of thing. I've never been someone to take part in trends anyway. So I was like, you know what? This year, double down on what you really enjoy doing and just become the best at that, the absolute best at that. And I was like, well, podcasting. And then, of course, I like adding a visual element to it. So that's what I'm going to double down on. Creates more value this way, honestly. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Shout out to Gray. I see you in the building. Actually, Gray, I got you a keychain from Japan. I got you a keychain because you requested one, so it's somewhere at my house. I'll have to pass that over to you. How's everybody else doing? What's going on? I've been like legit avoiding Instagram lately. Just haven't been really logging on socials. I've been kind of just sharpening that focus. I wanted less in this season right now. I want less consumption because I don't want to be influenced in my content creation right now. You know, sometimes when I'm like in experimentation mode and then I go online and I consume a lot of other creators, it kind of detours me off what I'm doing. And I remember I heard Missy Elliott talk about this back in the day. She's like, when she was in album mode, she literally wouldn't listen to the radio because she didn't want any trends or outside influence to influence her creative process. So I asked myself the question, like, what would you make if you had zero interruptions with wherever your spirit wanted to go? So that's kind of like the journey I'm on right now. So my main form of content consumption right now, because of course I still like to be inspired and inform myself, it's just audio content. Been listening to audiobooks, a lot of music, a lot of DJ mixes, and then also, yeah, podcasts and stuff like that. What's your morning routine like and nighttime? I don't have like a set morning routine anymore. I used to. Now it's basically wake up, eat, tea, of course. Before Japan, I was going to the gym first thing in the morning. When I got back from Japan, I didn't go to the gym first thing in the morning. So now I'm kind of just like reading in the morning and doing some writing, and then I'll go to the gym some days. I'm not going every day at the moment. And then I just come to my studio and kind of like being here all day. And at nighttime, I just kind of like read a little bit before bed, or like listen to something I like. Tea, of course, wind down and then kind of just decompress. But I'm not really married to any routines at the moment. And that's fine. I don't think like we have to be married to our routines. I don't think we need to have like a routine all the time. Sometimes I'm very much linear and I have like a routine and like every day looks the same. And then other times I'm just going with the flow. And I like that. I realize even with my creativity, like sometimes I realize I don't like having just a constant balance. I'm kind of the type where I like to be all in, extreme, and then like step back and take a break. I like kind of creating in seasons and stuff. So, some days I may work for 12 hours, and then some weeks I only like do stuff for like 2 hours a day. It just kind of depends. I think it comes down to energy management, being aware of our energy, being aware of our season, because every season, everything's going to be different. Our mood's going to be different. Our energy's going to be different. Our inspiration is going to be different. You know, let's get into some more questions. Do you ever get anxiety? I don't think of course, like anxiety is something I think everyone experiences, but I think everyone experiences it in different ways. So I would say I don't get like anxiety attacks where I can't breathe and like it's not controllable. But maybe I get anxiety. Like let's say if I have an opportunity and I gotta like speak in front of a bunch of people, I'm going to get anxious about that. But I don't really have anxiety like throughout the day. I never really have, and I'm not sure. I used to have social anxiety, but again, that's like a environment or an event that triggers it. And just with age and maturity and getting to know myself and more self discovery, I overcame that as well. So I don't really have social anxiety anymore. But yeah, yeah. How do you find Japan's culture comparing to the West? Well, that is what I enjoyed about Japan the most was the culture, right? It wasn't just like the sights. It was actually the culture, the way the Japanese people move. It's like they have this harmonious flow through society. There's a social harmony, and it seems like they really take pride in the collective, right? Like they're not as individualistic as we are, but then the youth still express themselves. Like the fashion is insane. Like the fashion was just insane. The way people are dressed is like everyone's just real neat and tidy, and then the city is so clean, so organized, and like although there's thousands and millions of people moving around, it's like they move with order, and there is a peace of mind there because it's so safe. Like in a lot of big cities, you're more like, okay, there's a little bit more chaos. Sometimes there's people screaming, homelessness. When you're traveling, you may feel like you got to watch your wallet, but in Japan, like that, those thoughts weren't there. Like it just wasn't there. And like there's this like common respect throughout the city, it seems like, and like honor, and they just do things a little bit differently. They just do things a little bit more organized, a little bit more tidy. Like, when you're trying on clothes, like you take your shoes off before you go into the change room, which makes complete sense. Or if you're gonna like try a shirt on, they have these things that you put on your head so you can put the shirt on first so your hair doesn't touch the clothes, which makes sense, right? Like, because tons of people are trying these clothes on. Like, um, yeah, it's just different. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Now I heard like they have obviously every country has its own problems, but I really enjoyed Japan. And obviously like I've always loved Japanese food. And I think oddly enough, like the culture, my personality resembles aspects of it. So I feel like I'm inspired to learn Japanese now. Like actually I'm getting my daughter a Japanese tutor because she wants to learn. 'cause she's into Japanese culture. And I'm like, man, one of the best things you could do is learn another language. And that has always been one of my biggest regrets. I speak only English, and that is like my biggest regret. So I've just been waiting until the inspiration, the passion has cultivated enough for me to actually be excited to learn another language. Like I've always wanted to learn another language, but I didn't know which one I wanted to commit to. And I'm 99.9% sure that Japanese will be the next one I commit to because I want to frequently travel back. Is it easier to eat healthier for cheap? I don't know if you mean like in Japan or just overall, but like, I think obviously you can still eat healthy and eat cheap. Maybe not at Whole Foods, right? Because like Whole Foods has all these like products that are just expensive, but like, whole based foods, just like vegetables and like potatoes and stuff like that, you can still get meats like pretty cheap, I find. Or like obviously there's inflation, but I think you can, yeah, you can eat healthy. Of course, you can eat like junk food for like really cheap, like McDonald's and stuff. You can get probably more calories in on a junk food diet, but I still think it's possible to eat healthy on a budget. Have you visited the Maroon Village in Jamaica yet? Yeah, I have multiple times. I've actually filmed videos there in a kampong. For a few years in a row, I went to the festival that the Maroons have every year in January. So yeah, I've been there. Interesting. It's very interesting to go there. They're like their own sovereign people. The history's interesting, and I always loved going there and filming. Are you drinking your tea tonight? I will drink some tea tonight. But I've been drinking a little bit too much black tea, to be honest, and it's become a problem again. We need more music from you. Man, I could only do so much at once. I actually like work on music every day, but like not enough to put it into full songs. I just more make like loops and ideas. And I think for now, any sounds I make will just be for the podcast and for the videos. I just think it would take like another level of dedication and focus for me to like actually make music that I release as songs. And I think one day, but I will have to, I need to really commit to that. And I want to commit to some other things first. Sean Smart says, I just started watching your stuff last month and it's changed my whole perspective on life. Thank you. Oh, I am, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad you've tapped in. Thank you. If black tea is your vice, have you found what drives you to it? Yes, it's the taste. It's the taste, man. I love how black tea tastes. I like something hot. Like I can drink any type of tea, but like black tea is my favorite flavors. But I can easily like swap it, like for a few months I wasn't drinking any caffeinated tea as all. I was just drinking herbal tea. But I went to Japan and obviously I got a bunch of tea out there. So like I just have so much hojicha tea, which is a green tea, but still got caffeine in it. But I have so much hojicha tea right now that I've just been drinking through it. So once I'm like done it, I'm just not gonna buy any more caffeinated tea and then I'll go back on my herbal. How can I be consistent? Man, it's such a broad question, right? Because consistent with what? Obviously, you just mean consistent in life. How do I stay consistent? Well, proper preparation prevents poor performance. So it does take preparation and it does take a lot of self observation. So every time you fall off your consistency, you need to take note. Why did I fall off? What led me to that? And then like fix those mistakes. Like sometimes we be so focused on the next step, but we never really focus on improving our last step, right? Because our steps should get easier. So if we focus on improving our last step, the next step we can take it with more grace instead of feel like we're walking through the mud. In Japan, they have this concept called Kaizen, and it's all about just focusing on the small steps, right? Like and doing the small steps to perfection, which progress is perfection, but just like doing them the best you can while you can. And over time, you become consistent and things get better instead of always trying to make these massive big steps or like sprinting all into something, burning out and falling off. So you have to ease yourself into something. Like a lot of times that people like, start to get into gym, Maybe they overdo it and they go 7 days a week for 2 weeks and then they burn out and then they don't go for a month or 2 months. Maybe it's better just to go every other day, right? You gotta have to find your healthy pace, but it just takes time to be consistent, right? It takes time. Like I think everyone struggles with it, and then I think during the year you can start to see how your energy reflects differently during the year. Like my energy kind of resembles the same type of space in the winter, in the spring, in the summer. Like in the winter, I'm in a certain kind of mood. Interesting enough, in the winter, my sex drive is just not as much, but in the spring, boom, it comes back, which is interesting, right? Like all the leaves are coming back. It's like I'm aligned with nature like that. I think maybe many of us are. And I think if you observe yourself, throughout the years and you look at your past mistakes last year and be like, okay, like maybe in this season is where I go a little bit more energy all in, but I need to know I only have enough energy to like do this for 6 weeks and then I need to do this. Like my plan right now is every 6 weeks to take a short vacation. Because before I went to Japan, I would come into the studio and there was this feeling of I have to be here, which is a horrible feeling. It's like, yo, I created this life for myself. This is all I want to do. But I would step into the studio and I would be like, oh, I felt like I have to be here. Like I have to be here. Went to Japan. I came back when I stepped into here. I was like excited to be here. Right? Nothing changed about my environment. All that changed was I allowed myself to go into a new environment, have new experiences, inspire myself, and come back to it. Right? So you just have to like. I'm gonna say you have to have a balanced life, but balance will look different for everybody. Like I was talking about earlier, balance to me isn't like, oh, every day I work the same amount of hours. No, sometimes I like to fully immerse myself like a psycho for like weeks on end. And then sometimes I may just chill. So balance will look different because we're all different. Like human beings are all wired very differently. That's what I love about us is that we're all so completely different. We're so unique, but then like we all experience the same things in our own different situations. Like we all experience joy, happiness, pain, suffering, jealousy. We all experience every emotion on the human emotion spectrum, but we all experience it in our own unique situations. So again, this is why I'm just kind of an advocate of like self discovery, which is learning more about ourselves, learning more about our ways. I think the more we develop an understanding of ourselves and develop some type of faith-based system, the better understanding we have of others, right? And then we develop better community, more patience, more discernment, and then things get easier with time. I find like when I get into a rut, like I've been in a rut for a while, but like I'm less reactive in my ruts. Like when I'm not as inspired and things aren't clicking, and like let's say my emotions aren't like on 100, like in a positive, I'm less reactive now in my life. I'm not like, oh my God, what's happening? I'm more like, oh, I'm in one of those spaces right now. You know what I'm saying? So as we get older, as we get wiser, we can start to take things with grace, because we know I've been here before. Like I love that saying from the Tao when they say, be happy when it's a good day because a bad day is going to come. And be happy when it's a bad day because we know a good day is going to come, right? Like we know good times and bad times are going to happen for the rest of our life. So me, I just try not to react too much to either end of the spectrum. When good things happen, I'm like, of course, receive it, celebrate, but don't become attached to it or attached to that outcome. And then when bad things happen, again, you're going to have to receive it with grace. See what am I going to learn in this season, but don't react to it so much because a good day is going to come as well. That's just how it is. So I think being consistent is also doing that, right? Is being less reactive to like all our moods and start to journey in grace, right? The cycle of life, yeah, 100%. It's a cycle. Um, and the cycles can be beautiful or they can be negative sometimes, right? Like sometimes we could be in a cycle that we can't get out of. Um, and we're just repeating the same mistakes and the same patterns. And we want to be aware of that. Sometimes we keep, I'm gonna say, like manifesting the same people into our life, right? Or dating the same type of person who broke our heart last time, but now it's just in a different avatar, it's a different face. So we have to be aware of those type of cycles, right? Those negative cycles, right? But also be aware of our internal cycle, right? Like everything in nature is a cycle, right? There's 12 months in a year. There's 24 hours in the day. The sun comes up around the same time every day. Winter comes same time every year. There's a cycle, right? Everything has its season. So I think if we can look at, be very present, to focus on the day, but then also notice, hey, like we have a whole year here. I don't have to sprint today. I can develop my energy and gain momentum. And then know like you're never going to be at a high intensity always. You never want to live up here always. You never want to be at high intensity always. Never. It's not possible. You will come back down. Even with creativity, like you may want to create all day, but you're probably really going to only get like 3-4 hours at like the peak creativity. And then at some point, you're going to glide back down, but glide back down with grace and know, okay, this cycle is coming to a close. And then today we go back at it again. Yeah, well, another thing I want to do is what I'm kind of focused on. So I've been talking about like obviously the podcast has been on pause. You know, podcast has over 9 million downloads, which is crazy. Still doing downloads every week, and my focus now will be the podcast. Coming back soon. My focus will be the podcast and live streaming, and then at some point I want to shift my YouTube into like kind of doing videos when I feel like it. So because it's very hard to do everything at the same time to perfection. And I was like, if I had to pick one thing to be like the best in the world at, what would it be? I'm like, well, podcasting. That's what I would want to do, right? I realize, man, it's impossible to do 20 different things to like mastery levels. And I think as creatives, like you need to be excited or happy with the things that you're producing. And sometimes the algorithms just like trick you into thinking that you just got to keep feeding it. But at the same time, it's like, I think we don't want to fall into complacency or um, what's the word I'm looking for? Becoming just average. At times I think we really got to push ourselves beyond our limits and see what else is in there because there's always more in there. There's more creativity, there's more brilliance. And sometimes it just takes another level of focus to dive deep and uncover those seeds. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Why this looks like a reel so professional. Yeah, we keep everything real beautiful. That's what it's like to be in hindsight. You don't know everything gonna be all right. That's how I like it to be. I just love like a beautiful image. I just love production. I thank God for bringing me through 10 years of making videos for other people, shooting weddings, doing all these things. Sometimes I didn't like doing, but it gave me production skill to then like, be able to produce my own video image and my vibe, right? And my colors, which is cool. It takes time to develop your own style, your own aesthetic. But I think that's what we need to do, especially in this new age of AI, which is very interesting, right? We're in a very interesting age right now. And with AI, all AI is going to do is replicate what's on the internet, right? And it's going to replicate it to like perfection. At the same time, like I don't think it's not going to be original. It's not going to be authentic. So creatives and people just need to tap into their authenticity, the thing that truly separates them from everybody. I think a lot of people on this is no knock, because I think it takes time to dive into our originality, and sometimes we copy other people to learn our own style, and then like sometimes we will completely be inspired someone, copy them, and then maybe we take 5% of them and it becomes our style. But I think, sometimes when you go online, it seems like there is a type of content creation that is about just following what's already being done. Like there's somebody, so I have this one clip that has gone mega viral on like TikTok and Instagram. I know y'all probably seen it. I'm talking about, if your boss asks you to do the dishes or something, you're gonna do it. Or if your boss asks you to show up to work all week, you're gonna do it. But when you tell yourself to start a YouTube channel, do you do it? No. So this clip has just gone beyond viral. The wildest thing is I didn't even post this clip. Someone took that clip from my YouTube video and just put it online, and then like everyone just blasted it. I love it. It wasn't even in my control. But there's a few people that have legit recreated that video, and word for word, I'm like they didn't even remix it. Word for exact word, just said the exact same thing, and they went viral too. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I go to their page and they're following me. I'm like, bro, you should have at least remixed it. You know what I'm saying? Like remix it into your own style. You just saw something that worked and you're like, ah, I want those views. But like, bro, like bring your originality to it, you know, bring your authenticity to it. We all have an authentic self. We all have something that somebody else doesn't have, just like a flavor, a tone. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody has seen life through your viewpoint because no one has had your exact life. No one has had your exact experiences. Like I think that is beautiful. Like not a single person in this world has had your exact experience. That's why I think every single person has some level, not some level, every single person has value to bring to the world. They just do because you have a unique perspective and experience in whatever way, shape, or form you decide to share that or put your energy into is, you know, up to us. But I think just tapping into that is everything. Very, it's very important. So, oh, this is a good question. Kind of off topic. We'll go back to Japan. But Sunny asked, "Do you think their analysts of Japan is influenced by religion, beliefs, or philosophy?" So this was something I was most interested, right? Because I'm like, yo, I'm in a country that is very safe, right? They have very low crime. It's super clean and organized. And from what I know, they don't have a repressive government. It's not like there's cameras everywhere just watching them what they do. So I'm like, how are they doing this? I looked what religions are here. Well, obviously they have like the Shinto, but they're not actually. From what I learned, especially in Tokyo, the majority of people aren't religious. The majority of people are very secular. They're very agnostic or atheist. Now they have Shinto, which is like more culturally ingrained, and they have the temples and everything, and they believe in some spirits. But it's not their order isn't religious based. Now, philosophy based, yes, it's from I think Confucius. When Confucius said, don't do to others what you don't want done to yourself, right? And that kind of influenced a lot of the Asian countries, China, Singapore, Korea, and Japan. So it's more philosophy based, but they more are serving the greater collective from what I've learned. And if I was wrong, my apologies, but like I studied and I've asked some people, they serve the greater collective. So the collective is almost like you could say represents God in a way. Like we are serving the collective of us because what I don't want to do to someone, what I don't want them to do to me. So they're just kind of very like polite. Now, in ways I've learned, they're very passive. Like sometimes people don't really express their anger or frustration, but I don't know. They still have this beautiful social harmony within society, which is nice. And I think on the West, we're very much individualistic, right? Like we're very much like I'm gonna say what I want to say. It's we're a very individualistic society, and I think both have its positives and both have its negatives. But I'm not gonna lie, if I had to choose right now, like if I could make the decision right now where I was gonna if I was gonna live in Canada or Japan, I'm choosing Japan. I really like it. I really like it. I would love it. I just think like I think me learning another language and being in another culture would be really good for my mind and spirit and just evolving my viewpoint. Because I think over here in the West, it's very easy to get into like a bubble. It's very easy to get like in a bubble in our culture, in our ways. And like what I don't like about being here is, there's a lot of things in society that are very divisive right now and very polarizing. And it seems like that is like, that is like what the world is like. But when you go somewhere else, you realize our problems aren't their problems. Like they don't have the exact same problems as us. Like some of our culture wars, they're not even thinking about. And it's really nice. You know what I'm saying? Like some of our culture wars aren't even happening in other places. So like when I'm like, and like that's why I don't really like the internet lately. It's just too many culture wars. There's like so much division, and I'm just like, oh, I almost like just don't want to tune into it. For the last 2 weeks, I haven't been on Instagram. I just haven't been on Instagram. I haven't been on Instagram. And like it's not on my phone. I haven't even been looking at stuff. Like maybe like once or twice I come and tap in, but like just like tap into my DMs. And one day I logged on, and within 45 seconds of logging on, I saw that there was like a shooting somewhere. I saw something locally that was really negative that happened. I saw some stuff with some politicians that wasn't positive. And then I saw another negative thing within another negative thing. Within 45 seconds, it was like, and then I saw something about the Dalai Lama, which was weird. And within those 45 seconds, I'm like, man, this was like a lot of toxicity I just consumed in 45 seconds. I'm like, yeah, I can't. And then I realized I'm like, for years coming on these platforms, we like consume this type of stuff. And then like we become desensitized to it. And I was like, ah, man, I need to be more mindful of what my spirit is consuming and seeing. Not saying I want to ignore the world, but like I'll be aware in many ways, but like I want to preserve aspects of myself and like make sure that like beauty, that light stays on. Cause I think for a while, it seemed like there was like no hope in the world. Like things were kind of getting dark and everyone's talking about the evils, but there's so much beauty still. You know, there's so many things to be grateful for. There's so much love. Like God is present in all of us. I truly believe in that. And I think sometimes, you know, these algorithms are designed in a way to play on our human psychology. And for some reason, our human psychology, we love what's negative or we're drawn to what's negative. We're kind of drawn to drama for some reason. It's like just kind of wired within us. And I think the algorithms kind of play on that. And I think there's like also media companies or creators that kind of play off that sometimes. I think Instagram's a little bit better, you know, in a way that it seems like it's kind of curated in a more positive way, in a way, kind of, or maybe it's just mine. TikTok's a little bit different. YouTube, yeah. Twitter's kind of crazy. I like Twitter though. But yeah, for me, I'm like, yo, I asked this question. I was like, what would happen if your spirit had zero interruptions for 3 months? Like zero interruptions. Like it was just in the driver's seat, you know, and like the outside world wasn't influencing it really at all. And I was like, oh man, I wonder. I've been there before, but I wonder what that would be like now. So that's kind of like the journey I'm on right now. And I'm excited. It's beautiful. Already like revelations and ideas are happening and like feeling good. And yeah, I like it. What about reality TV shows? I don't really watch reality TV shows except for I just watched uh The Biggest Menace on YouTube with Gideon and Nico. They're like prank. I love watching pranks. That's like my guilty pleasure is watching prank videos because like I don't know, I like a good laugh and like that Biggest Menace with Gideon, Gideon and Nico was really really good. It was really really good. What's diet like, bro? Ah, man, diet is really just like whatever. To be honest, right now, I do a lot of meal prep. You know, my meal prep usually has like quinoa in it, broccoli, you know, some salmon, and like a rice dish. You know, water, tea, stuff like that. Fruit. Because it's summertime coming soon, I'll probably start to eat a lot of fruit. Love my fruit. But you know, human beings are also different. So like my diet may not work for somebody else, or somebody else's diet may not work for me. Like that's why I don't really like talking about what the best foods are because we don't know. Like we only know what is good for us through our observation and like getting tested and stuff like that. You know, like I'm allergic to nuts. Like if I eat a pistachio or an almond or a cashew, I could potentially die. You know, it's almost happened multiple times. But I'm sure there's many of you out there who eat nuts and like it's a great source of fats for you. Like we're just different, you know? So I think you have to find the diet for you. And the unfortunate part is there's so much information online, which is a good thing, but it's a negative thing as well, right? Because I could pull up an article right now on why kale is good for you, but I can pull up an article right now on why kale is bad for you. Like that's weird, right? Like literally, I could do that right now. I could pull up an article on why red meat is great for your heart. I could pull up an article right now why red meat is awful for your heart. Like you can kind of find any article to back up your bias. And I kind of realized that online. So I was just like, man, I really got to just, when it comes to food and diet, I really got to go off of conventional, like just like traditional, conventional wisdom in the sense of like real foods is what's best, you know, like real foods. So like, you know, the veggies, the fruits, the whole based plant foods. And then like when it comes to like the animal based products, the stuff that's not messed with, you know, like the least hormones, the least mass produced, just like real foods, and then trying to just limit the processed foods as much as possible. And then those processed sugars, because obviously those are really bad. That's kind of like my theory. And I just kind of do the best I can within that. But I don't like to get into the diet fads or the extremes or the food culture wars because to me, it's just irrelevant. It really is. And then like people judge each other. Like I had someone, I was in Japan and me and my boy, I haven't seen my boy in like 4 years. He lives out there. We're having like a good meal on my last night. We're eating sushi. You know, my rule is even though I have like sometimes I have dietary sometimes I'm like following like a certain dietary regime or something for myself, or there's certain foods I may not eat. If I'm in another country, I usually kind of drop all dietary restrictions, especially if like it's that if it that culture like food, you know what I mean? I love sushi regardless, but there's certain sushi I've never ate. Like at certain things I'm like, no, I don't want to eat that, especially raw. But when I'm in Japan, I'm like, yo, I'm in Japan. I'm like, yo, whatever like we eat, especially when I'm with other people, I'm eating. So our last night we were having this really good sushi meal, like food some things I've never had. Amazing. Posted on my story and then someone was like attacking me for eating sushi. Obviously they were vegan. Now I know like, they're coming from the best place in their heart just because they care so much about their beliefs. But I'm like, man, like it's just such like a closed off thought. I'm like, this is a whole culture. You know what I'm saying? This is a whole country that has a culture and everything like that. And like me, if I'm in like Africa and I'm like at someone's house and their mom or their grandma comes and serves them a dish and like I don't like white sauces. I don't know what it is, but like anything like a white sauce, like mayonnaise, sour cream, or just like a white sauce, I don't like. But let's say like someone's mom, I'm in their house in another country and like their mom serves up a dish and it's got all this white sauce. Guess what? I'm gonna eat it. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna eat it because, out of respect. And I always say that, do it for the culture. It's something new, whatever. We just gonna do it. So that's just kind of how it is. Even what I learned, like Buddhist monks, obviously Buddhist monks are vegetarian, but they do the whole thing where they go around and they ask for people for food, kind of like a donation thing. And let's say someone invites a monk into their home and cooks up a meal, and let's say they serve them chicken. The monk isn't going to say to them, "Oh no, 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 sorry, I don't eat chicken." They're gonna eat it, even though they're vegetarian, because they don't want to. They don't want to be inconvenient. They want to be respectful, right? So like my whole rule is when I'm traveling, like if whatever the culture is, yo, I'm diving in because I want to get to know your culture, and food is a very important aspect of a culture, right? Um, so I was like, really, the person that messaged me and did that, I blocked them. I was like, yo, if you're gonna be in my stories judging me for eating, like I'm just blocking you, like 100%. Let's see some more questions here. I cut out, someone said, I cut out red meat for years. Recently, I've been eating it again and I feel a lot more nourished than I have been in years. Again, amazing, right? Like, you really got to go off of your own, what you're feeling, and just perspective and stuff like that. Someone says, do you believe in Jesus? Well, I mean, there's enough like historical evidence to show that like Jesus was a real person and clearly he had like a message and the message is amazing and there's teachings like that. So, of course, because there's enough there for me to believe. But like, do I believe in like a dogmatic way where I'm just gonna reject everybody else's belief? No. Where did you get your sunglasses? I got them at a store. I forget what it's called, but here locally in Vancouver. I love round glasses. Round shades are like my thing. What's a good wake up call for the mornings? What do you mean by that? Like clarify that question. Who inspired you? Bob Marley and Bobby McFerrin are like some of my like biggest inspirations. Um, Literally watching you on my TV right now. Shout out to Kelsey, got me on the TV. What's up? What's up? That's fire. How you come off so gentle? I think we all kind of have a nature. Like I have some friends that just have like a lot of energy. Like they're the life of the party. Uh, and they're just kind of wired that way. And that's like their energy, their aesthetic. And then me, I'm kind of just more calm. And like I don't really like it's very rare I yell. Like it's just like it doesn't even feel like my vocal like for me to yell, it's like I feel like I gotta exhaust my vocal cords. You know what I'm saying? So I just think I'm just like wired that way. Um, it's just like what comes natural to me. I don't think there's like a better way or not. I think everyone just has like their own vibe. Like some people are just really funny. They're naturally charismatic. They're big laughs, and some people aren't. Should we always trust our gut feelings? I don't know. It's kind of hard to say always, like, but I think at the end of the day, like it is a good idea. Like if you feel convicted about something, but then like let's say your friend is telling you something else, but your gut is telling you this is the way to go, I would lean more and trust yourself because especially if it's a gut feeling and you're convicted about it because like who knows you better than you? You're in your mind all day. You're the one experiencing your own thoughts, your own energies, everything like that. A lot of people won't understand what we're trying to do, especially when they're giving us advice. So a lot of times I always lean on my own gut feeling, and it's worked out. Obviously I made mistakes, and then we kind of learn like, oh, was that a gut feeling, or was I moving off of my pride? Was I moving off a soul desire? Was there a void that I was quickly trying to fill? And then I have that self observation. Like sometimes we think it's our gut, but it's something else. And sometimes when we make big mistakes, we just have to observe, was that really my gut? Or maybe it wasn't, you know? But at the same time, I think we got to give ourselves the grace to make mistakes. Got to give ourselves the grace to make mistakes because it's going to happen. Failure is like a necessary nutrient for our foundation. Like it just is, right? Like it's a part of the process. You have to fail and make mistakes. It's actually necessary, you know? There's a book called Gift of Fear. It's really good and talks about our gut instinct being a gift. Okay, cool, 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 cool. What helps you calm down morning anxiety? So I don't have morning anxiety, but I do get morning anxiety if I wake up and I go on my phone and I consume the world. Um, a hot shower really helps me. Like first thing, I just like to get up and go into and have like a really hot shower. And I go into my bathroom. I don't even turn on the light. Like I literally just have a shower in the dark. There's no window in my bathroom, so like pitch black. I just have a shower. I basically adapted to the dark, and I could just move around after a shower. I like to move slow in the mornings, unless if I go to the gym. But like yeah, when I wake up, everything on my phone, like the internet, YouTube, everything's already blocked. I have an app called Opal that at like 6 a.m., 5 a.m., it blocks everything for like 3 or 4 hours. So I can't even access things if I tried. Really, just staying off the phone is really the best thing for me. And then like having some good tea, eating a good meal, and then like, uh, decompressing. And sometimes I'll just sit, sometimes I'll just sit and do nothing and just like let the minds race and run around until they realize like, oh, this guy's not going to adopt us. This guy's just letting us fly around here like idiots, because sometimes there's a lot of thoughts in the morning. Or there's this thing I used to do, and I used to wake up and I would think about everything I have to do in life, like not even that day, but in life. And it would just put this like anxiety through my spine. And I'm like, it was so weird. I'm like, I'm just waking up. Don't even give myself the chance to put my feet on the ground. And I'm already thinking about how I have to show up in the world. So when that happens again, I just go through what I just told you, just decompress, give myself that time to like ease into the day, and then boom, go into it with a focused mind. Like being focused for me is everything. Like if I'm not focused, my day is shit. Like my day is shit. And then like it just feels like horrible. Someone said, listen to Heinz if you have anxiety. Actually, a lot of people do that. A lot of people listen to the podcast before they go to bed or something. And it helps them. So that's really cool. I didn't like make it with that intention, but like that's how it ended up being received, which is amazing. What's the last dream you remembered? I can't share my dreams yet because my dreams are weird. The last dream I remembered was not good. I'll be honest. I have weird dreams, yo. Like ones where I'm just like, man, that's weird. Um, yeah, I think we're like one of the last dreams I was in Jamaica and someone was chasing me and my friend. It was wild. We were like running away from somebody. I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? I don't think like there's enough explanation on the dream world. I don't pay attention to my dreams so much. I don't wake up and I don't try to like dissect it. Just because they're too wild that like it would take all day. And I think it would cause anxiety if I like gave my dreams too much attention, you know? Because I'm like, life is great. Things are working out. I don't really need to like subscribe to every dream, just like I don't subscribe to every thought that I have, right? Some thoughts are just floating by, you know? If I have a thought that comes by and tells me I'm not shit, I'm not like gonna be like, okay, let's dive into that. Like, no, because if you feed the mind negative things, the mind becomes negative. And I try to be very aware of that. So if I have a negative dream, sometimes I'm just like, and especially if it's just too crazy, like if it's clear and precise, then I'll take it as maybe this is a message. But if it's just really wild and like seems like there's no real storyline to it, I just don't even overthink it, you know? I'm not I think when I was young, like younger, high school, I would go online and like try to like dive into my dreams and then it's like Googling yourself when like you feel like something's wrong with you. Like if you got like a pain in your stomach and then you Google pain and stomach symptoms and next thing you know, it's like a symptom of something like really serious. Like you should never do that. So same thing with dreams. You still dream when you smoke before? I don't smoke, so I heard a lot of people say when they smoke they don't dream. I don't smoke, so maybe that's why my dreams be just wild. Got a hoodie I wanted to send you from the brand I launched. Yeah, you just gotta email me. There should be an email in my Instagram information. How do you next level yourself in life? You know, that's an interesting question because I felt like in the past couple of years, I definitely climbed a mountain. You know what I'm saying? Like I got to a new peak. You know, a lot of people know who I am. Anywhere I travel, someone recognizes me, which is crazy. When I was in Mexico, someone recognized me. I was in New York, people recognized me in the street. When I was in Japan, people recognized me. I'll be at the airports, people recognize me. In my own city, people recognize me. So clearly, like I got to a viewpoint. And I thought, you know, let's try to get in the frame here. You know, I climbed this mountain and I could see the next place to go. I'm like, okay, so we just got to go up, continue doing what we're doing. But to get up, I didn't realize that I actually there was a valley, right? And there's people that will call this the valley of despair. So I didn't climb up the mountain. I actually went back down because to get to this next peak, there was a valley. And in this valley, I was kind of walking through the mud again and through the weeds, but I realized it was necessary because there's things that we learn down here that equip us for the next stage. So sometimes the next stage isn't always about going straight up, but sometimes it's not linear. Sometimes we will go back into a weird space where it's uncertain. But I believe in those areas, in those spaces, there's just so many things we adopt that equipped us. And sometimes we need new ways to bring us to the next space. Like I always say, sometimes our old ways may not serve us in the new space. Like many of the things that got you to this point, your routines or like this or like whatever it may be, got you to this point may not be the exact same thing that gets you to the next point. So you may have to relearn what is required for this next season. And because all our lives are so unique, there's no like exact blueprint step to how to elevate to the next space. I would just say like the fundamentals are stay focused, take care of yourself, right? Simple. Stay focused and self-care. When we're focused, we're more self-aware, we're more intentional, right? We're more precise, we can prepare. And when we take care of ourselves, we feel good, we think good, we walk good, we are good. Will you ever sell a book or journals? I'm actually working on a journal right now. Yeah, I'm working on a journal right now. Unfortunately, I just don't have like the biggest team, so things take time. A little bit slower than I currently am happy with. But I am working on a journal, and then you know, I think I'm developing the confidence to believe I could write a book still. I think the process scares me. Like there's just so many words. There's so many words in a format, and it's just like uh, it will happen probably one day, but I'm not quite at peak confidence. Um, but I am writing a lot more. I'm writing a lot more. Can you compare your 20s to your 30s? Yeah, I'm in my 30s now. My 30s are way better than my 20s, but my 20s was foundational. It's different for everybody though, you know, like some people like by 21, they're like wizards and they're like killing it and like they're in their career already. For me, the 20s is learning a lot, is where I developed a lot of my skills. And it just gave me the foundation that when I became 30, like when I turned 30, that was like when I was already 3 years into celibacy. That's like when I was like a new creation, exactly when I turned 30. Um, yeah. But again, like we're all on our own different timelines, like I think like age is this weird thing because I meet some people who are like 45. I'm like, bro, you seem like you're 20. Or I meet like a 22-year-old. I'm like, yo, you seem like different. Like you just seem like wiser or more experienced beyond your age. So like age is like a weird thing where like I rarely even ask people their age because I really just like to get I don't because as soon as like I ask someone their age and like let's say they tell me they're 24, immediately I'll create a judgment. Not a judgment, but like a picture in my mind of what they're like and who they are. But like maybe from like the age of like 9 to 18, they were like taking care of like four of their little brothers and sisters, and maybe at 13 they started working. So by the time they're 24, they're like a fully grown adult that's been like having responsibilities. Or maybe some 24-year-olds, have had a lot more privilege and like economic status and like they've been much more in a free flow and they have more of like a different spirit. So age to me, I kind of take Prince's philosophy on age. When people ask me my age, I'm just like, I'm timeless. You know what I'm saying? I'm timeless because you can't really, I just don't think you can fully grasp somebody by their age. You can only paint a picture from your own viewpoint of what society we think a 30-year-old or 20-year-old or 40-year-old supposed to be like. But to me, I really just try to like get to know the person and accept them for who they are. And also, like, when I was younger, when I was like 17, I'd look at someone who was like 26. And if they were successful, I would be like, okay, well, if they're successful at 26, I need to have that same level of success or more by 26. So now I'm not even focusing on my own race or my own pace. Now I'm like literally focused on someone else's life, which is such a disservice to ourselves. Like we do that. Oh, this person was married by 27 and she had her whole family intact. So I need to have that by then. If I don't, I'm a failure. It's like, no, 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 no. Focus on your pace. You understand your timeline. Like you have your own life, your life. Just other people's lives should just be inspiration. Inspiration. That's it. Oh, they did it. That's cool. Wow. Amazing. Inspiration. But we have to be really careful of that comparison because comparison, again, now that becomes a whole other thing. And that is such a disservice to ourselves, such a disservice to ourselves. How do you balance wanting to rest but also needing to grind for your business? Well, I know that regardless, we're human beings. So we need to sleep. We have to sleep. And I know for myself, I need now, I need like a good 7 hours sleep. Before I would do like 5, 4, but I need a good 7 hours sleep to even operate at my maximum. Sometimes I only get 6, but let's say I get 7. I know I need 7 hours every night. So regardless, that's non-negotiable. Now, when I got to grind on my business, maybe after that, I will grind all day, every day because I have the energy. I think as creatives or entrepreneurs or artists or whatever, w- we're not conventional in a 9 to 5. So, like, at times, you're going to have so much energy. I think you should take advantage of it. At times, we're going to be all in, like, to the point where, like, friend college, like, can't talk, like, we are consumed and, like, we should be because that inspiration or that energy isn't always going to be there. Right. And then when it's not there, is when we kind of like move our energy in other areas, right? Like if I don't have the energy for certain things, I'll just do like tedious things or other things that like doesn't require a lot of energy. But if I'm in high creativity mode, I know I should take advantage of that. If I'm in high creativity mode and I'm like, oh, it's my bedtime, but like I'm still feeling it, I'm like, nah, nah, nah. Ride this wave. Continue and ride this wave because this wave may not be there tomorrow. You may produce your best work right now. So but overall, in the grand scheme, we just know that we need a certain level of sleep. We need to do something for our bodies. So we need a little bit of movement. We need a little bit of resistance. And we need to eat in a way that nourishes our mind, body, and spirit. Those are non negotiable because, like, regardless, if we stop doing that, well, then we can't grind on business, right? Because there's nothing without our health, right? Literally nothing without our health. What are your goals for 2023? My goals for 2023 is to feel more aligned in what I'm producing. So it's to focus more on my podcast, and it's to create my business model around more of my own products and things like that, and to travel, to make sure I'm giving myself experiences, and to celebrate my wins. I always had a problem with celebrating myself. I did so many things, cool things in the last 2 years, and I would never even tell anybody or celebrate myself. And my goal this year is to be able to celebrate those accomplishments, and yeah, just double down on what I know I'm really good at and like master that one thing. I think for a few years I was trying to do everything at once, and you can only do everything at once to like a certain level. But I kind of want to put my all into like one or two things and like do that at a masterful level and really commit for a few years. So it's kind of my goal. What advice could you give to small YouTubers? Being a small YouTuber is a blessing because it gives you the space to develop your style, to develop your voice. Because once the audience comes in, that's a whole nother game. Like it's actually really hard once you start making money on YouTube to balance the business side of things or balance all the opinions that come in, right? Because now you're getting all these opinions, and that can sometimes influence your process positively or negatively. So when you're a small YouTuber, it's really about, yo, just be excited. It's not about the views. It's really about just producing a good layer on your channel, getting a really good foundation on your channel. So like when people do discover your channel, they can go back and look at all these videos that you really were proud of and that you put yourself into. And then at some point, just know that if you're consistent and you're doing your best, at some point, it's gonna click, it's gonna hit, something's gonna happen, right? And then from there you're gonna have a new opportunity and also new struggles. Everyone's saying please save the live. How do I save the live? Do you like Tai Chi? I love Tai Chi. Tai Chi is amazing. Qigong, I love it. We're going to have a podcast one day, brother. Oh, blessings. I love the positivity. What's your workout like? um I kind of just do like a push day, a leg day, a pull day, and then like a core kind of strengthening day, and then repeat. Before I went to Japan, I was like going to the gym 6 days a week, and I felt amazing. Then like when I went to Japan, that's the only thing. But like when you like leave, like you kind of like lose your routine. But I'm really trying to get in that rhythm where like even if I travel, I kind of like stay on top of like working out every day and stuff. Because like just that momentum of working out like consistently is just so good. And I notice when I'm training consistently, like I don't even crave bad foods. Like when I'm working my body out and I'm eating my healthy foods and enough food, I don't even crave sugar. But as soon as I stop working out, I like start to crave like sugary like kombuchas, or I'll be at the store and I'll see like a bag of chips, I'll crave it, or like I like little vegan sour candies, I'll crave those. But when I'm training, I don't even like my body doesn't even want that because it's fully nourished, it's fully satisfied. So that's something I really noticed last month when I was like going super consistent, like 6 days a week. I'm like, yo, my body isn't craving anything bad. Like it's happy. It's got everything that it needs. Everything that it needs. So like I I love that. I want to make sure I get back into that. Like I was at the gym today and like kind of just building the momentum up again because lost that routine from Japan. What do you think about when life puts a pause on your goals? Something outside of your control. Do you think it's a lesson the universe is trying to teach you? It can be if you like to look at it that way. I think there's always a lesson to be learned, like pretty much in everything. I try not to look at everything as in the universe is trying to teach me something. Now, for some people, that may be very positive. The reason why I don't do it is because sometimes in the past, I'd be like, oh God, universe, whatever you call it. If something bad happened, I'd be like, oh, well like, what is the universe trying to do? What is it trying to tell me? Oh, I did something bad. Maybe this is because I did this and now this is happening to me. And that can actually create like a anxiety and a psychosis, right? So instead, I just try to take everything with grace. And if there's a lesson to be learned, there's a lesson to be learned. But if there's no lesson, I'm like, okay, well, you know what? Yeah, we made it through that regardless, and now we can get back on track to our goals. But like, we can't control everything that happens. The only thing we can control is how we respond, right? Our response. So I really, in the last few years, I really learned how to not react, stop reacting, and respond, right? Respond with a sound mind, a patient mind. In the past, like 5 years ago, I was too superstitious. I was way too superstitious 5 years ago. Like if something bad happened to me, I assumed it's because I did something wrong. Or like it was just too superstitious, or everything was like like it was just too much. It wasn't healthy for the mind. So for me, I just try to take everything, just as is in a way. Jess says also everything doesn't need an instantaneous response. That's true. Like everything doesn't need a response right away. Like you could just be in it. What I what I what I would like to see the internet calm down on is like when something happens, everyone throwing their opinion out right away without even processing things in real time. You know, sometimes like people get their opinion out so fast before all the information is even clear, just so they can get the first post or something, and then arguments happen. But sometimes things don't need an instant response. Sometimes you don't have to be like, what is the lesson for this? Like it's just like, yo, just be, just be. It's like what I was talking about earlier when I was in Japan. I was realizing like, sometimes the camera trying to film thing was taking me away from the experience. I went to Team Labs. I went to Team Labs, this digital audio experience in Tokyo. Very cool. I was like, maybe I should pull it up here if I can pull it up, but I don't know if I can pull it up. I went to this digital audio experience, and it's like super cool to film, but it's also like it's also it takes you away from the experience. I just realized I'm also going live on YouTube. I don't even know how that's happening right now. I'm like live on YouTube right now. That is insane. I just went to my YouTube and I'm like live. So shout out to everybody on YouTube. I didn't even know. Shout out to the YouTube fam. I didn't even know I'm live on YouTube. But anyways, I'm in Tokyo, Japan, and I'm at this Team Labs thing, audio visual experience, and I'm trying to film it. I'm like, man, like this is an audio visual experience. I'm supposed to immerse myself in this. There's sounds going on. I'm walking through water. Like there's effects going with like I'm supposed to immerse myself, right? So for me, I that was important. I'm like, man, I need to immerse. Like when you go to a concert and everyone just has their phone out, and it's just like, that's cool sometimes, but sometimes it's like, yo, you just got to take the music in. You just got to dance. You just got to really be in the moment. And that's just time. That's kind of like my focus this year is like everything doesn't need to be posted. I don't have to share everything in my story. Now, if I feel like it, of course, but that feeling that like you have to, no. Yeah, I'm live on YouTube right now. That's insane. I didn't even know. I had no idea I was live on YouTube. That is so funny. Let me go see what the comments are saying. Okay, I'm gonna tap into the YouTube comments as well. We were ignored. Someone said, "I'm so sorry." You know what? Like I have this software called Ecamm. I use this software called Ecamm that allows me to go live, and I think it must have been set to Instagram and YouTube at the same time. So I didn't even know I could do that, which is cool. Um, it is cool. Wow. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna try to monitor both chat boxes. So now we got the YouTube vibe, the tribe, and we got the Instagram. What do you use for medication? I don't actually use any medication. Water. I drink like this green drink, athletic greens or whatever. I like that. I take like vitamin D. Um, and I take like some like herbs like sour sop tea. Um, my buddy has a herbal company called Rich Soul Foods, so I use his products sometimes. But yeah, I don't really use much medicine. If I needed it, I would, but I just uh luckily at this moment I don't need it. Oh, meditation you said, not meditation, mediation. Okay, I see what you said. Um I don't know, meditation is simple. I mean, everything to me is a meditation if I'm focused. Everything to me is like a meditation if I'm focused, but there's like this thing called the microcosmic meditation. There's a guy on YouTube that has one, and I like to do that. Also, I used to enjoy what's the ice bath guy? His name. I used to enjoy his breathing exercises. What's the ice bath guy? Wim Hof. Yeah, Wim Hof. I used to really enjoy his stuff. Yeah, shout out to everyone on the YouTube. I didn't even know. I like that y'all tapped in here. There's like 250 people on YouTube. That's like amazing. Look at that. We vibing. We vibing. Shout out to everybody I see. We got 12 in the building. We got Mitro. We got Danica. Danica is a very loyal subscriber. Danica is very loyal. So a lot of alignment. I see her resonating. I appreciate Danica. We got Keegan in the building. What's up, Keegan? I see you. We got Douglas. Shout out Douglas. Douglas was in the last live. Funny thing is, I remember majority of people. I will. If you're in my lives, I will remember you. I will remember you because I'm like one of the only people that go live on YouTube that actually talks to everybody without people paying me. Most live streamers, they respond to you only when you send them money. I kind of structure my live streams opposite. I'm like, I kind of almost just try to respond to everybody. Now, of course, like obviously, I think some live streamers are so big, they're getting thousands and thousands of messages that it's like the easiest thing to respond to is the one when someone sends a donation. So I understand the system, but I do remember people. So shout out. Someone said you're a beat maker. Making beats is what I used to do first, and then I moved into videos. You listen to AJ McQueen. I actually know AJ off of Instagram. We've had a couple of messages back and forth. Love what he's doing. I love his album cover he did recently. I haven't tapped like I haven't gone too depth into his body of work, but from what I can tell, he's really dope. He's an activist and he's giving a lot of energy on the algorithm. Cinematic, spitting bars, giving reflections, perspective. So shout out to the brother AJ McQueen, 100%. Your opinions on Erica Badu? Come on, y'all. Erica Badu is a legend. Erica Badu is a legend. She's an inspiration for me. Erica Badu is like, I just want to like continue. I want it like, she gonna be a vibe until she like again, like age. Like what is age? Like she is still relevant. She's still creating. She's still coming. Like she said earlier, not too long ago, like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I saw. She's like, I'm just coming up on my best work still. Like she has albums and classics, but she's like my best work hasn't even come out of me yet, and I love that. That is like the mind of like a true artist, right? How do you feel about pivoting creative outlets? I've been doing it my whole life. I first invested like 4 years into just making music, and then I felt like that wasn't going to bring me anywhere. Then I pivoted into videos, and then videos I did that for quite some time, and then I took, then I quit it all, and then I just worked a job, and then I took video and sound, and then I learned podcasting, and then next thing you know, I brought my production skills and brought it to my own thing. So I think pivoting creative crafts are really important if you feel called to. But I think it's also important to like, you know, don't completely just let go of something. Let me think about this. Because many crafts can bridge into the next craft. And I don't think we should be people that are constantly just bouncing from one thing to another and never really getting good at something, right? So I think it's like I'm at a level with my video where like I'm not trying to make movies, you know? I'm not trying to like do animation. So like I can produce my image. I'm kind of good with video. Like there's little things I'll learn because new technology will come in, but I'm good with video. Like that's why I can bridge into like focusing on certain other things now because I can develop the image I need. And I know I'm not trying to film a movie, so I don't really have to go deeper into cinematography or like anything like that, you know? Any upcoming changes coming on the Discord channel? Yeah, I feel I'm gonna say I feel bad, but I don't. But I do feel like, I haven't given the Discord much energy at all. Mainly because, man, again, I was just doing too many things and I really kind of had to retreat back a little bit, you know? I was almost like in this space where I had to preserve some of my energy. I was just listening to this. I was watching this documentary of Bobby McFerrin, and when he had his this song, this major song, "Don't Worry, Be Happy," big song, that went to number one. And instead of like touring that song and like going into the world, he actually disappeared. And I kind of felt like this year. I felt like this year I had to like step back because I felt like if I continued to do too much at the pace I was doing it, I would have gone like clinically insane. So like the Discord, I wasn't able to do what I wanted to do with it, but like it's still a community that has like 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people in there. And I think what we will do is we will most likely be bringing live streams in there and like private discussions and then finding ways to form more community in there. I got a shout out to Yeo. Yeo is one of the moderators in there and he kind of keeps it flowing and I appreciate him a lot. But also that space is kind of just it's not I didn't want it to be dependent on me always. I always wanted it to be like a space where like-minded people can communicate and build their own community as well. And like it's a space for other people to promote themselves. Like Yeo does talks in there with people and like that's helping him in different ways with his creativity. So it's not I didn't want to build the Discord to be dependent on me, but this year we will do like live streams and like conversations and maybe things that I normally don't talk about on YouTube, we can talk about in the Discord, kind of like a private community thing. Reggae OG. Yeah, I wish I could play music. Like y'all know when we on YouTube, solely just strictly on YouTube, we play a lot of music. But Instagram automatically shuts down a live when you play music, which is unfortunate. But the YouTube fam knows how much we play music on our lives. We always vibing with the music. It's a blessing. It's a big blessing. Why do you distance from social media while having a business that thrives from being online? So this is actually my new journey. Someone said we need the podcast again. The actual podcast is coming back really soon. So I've been talking about a lot on this live that the podcast is going to become my new focus again. So they are coming back soon. But yeah, how do I distance myself from social media? Luckily, I'm at the place now where I realize I can hire like a social media assistant. So I have hired someone that's going to be helping me with posting on some platforms because I don't think I personally want to be every single day posting. I really want to be in creation mode. What I want to do most is create and engage, but I want to engage on live stream, right? I don't want to engage by how many views do I have? How many comments do I have? I want to engage in the most effective way possible. So I've hired somebody to help me, basically like a personal assistant who's going to help me with that relationship with social media, not having to be engaging on it or checking it all the time. But before I had that, it really just took discipline. So sometimes I would just tell myself at this time every day is when I will go online and I'll check my socials and I'll interact and I'll post instead of like checking it periodically throughout the whole day. So at noon I would post and then maybe at 7 p.m. I would post and I would have 15, 20-minute gaps around that time and I would just hyper focus because within like 20 minutes you can go on and like check a lot of your DMs, respond to people, post what you have to post and then get off. but like checking it every 20 minutes throughout the whole day, it's impossible to focus on something. So you just had to have those boundaries. And sometimes I would need apps. Like I have an app on my phone called Opal, OPAL, which blocks any website or app I choose. So sometimes when I, come to the studio and I like know I just really want to focus and I want zero possibility of a distraction coming into my process, I turn on a 3 hour break and, I don't access anything. Someone said the volume on the live is very low. I think it's different for everybody else. Cause like on my mixer, it actually shows at a healthy level, but I'll have to figure it out. It's kind of hard sometimes, like because I'm going live on two different platforms. It may be quieter on the YouTube, but yeah, podcasts are on the way. Podcasts are on the way. Again, I had to take a step back. I had to develop a new vision for it, a new way forward. Um, and I have that now. But the new way forward is gonna like take way more work. But I'm excited about that work, so it's exciting. So I'm kind of just structuring that process, and I do want it to be a Monday to Friday experience again. Like I really struggled with like I really questioned if I could do that again because that was like I did it and that was like a really great experience and it was a really cool zone to be in. And then I was like, but can I do that again? Can I do that again? And then I was like, I can, and that's kind of like the experience of it. I like, doesn't mean people have to tune in every day, but I like it being there, for people if they want to have that 10 minutes, that 15 minutes to tune in every day. So to be able to do something like that takes, preparation. It takes a sustainable system. And that's what I've been developing before going all in again, because the last thing I want to do is jump back in and then like burn out, because that's kind of what was happening. I would jump in and then like realize, I'm not fully ready to commit. So, but again, you got to give yourself the grace to make mistakes, right? Like you make those mistakes, you learn, and then you elevate. Oh, boundaries, how. But what I like is, I mean, the podcast has over 9 million downloads. The truth is, I've never made a penny off the podcast because I've never monetized it because I just didn't feel like I could. I just felt like the experience of the podcast, it just wouldn't have worked. So that was a little bit hard too. Like, putting a lot of time into something and at the end of the day, like I never did it for money. But when you put so much time into something, sometimes you need to replenish with some resources. But I didn't know how to fully do that. Um, but yeah, over 9 million downloads. And still to this day, it's still doing like over 20,000 downloads every week. And I haven't been posting. So that's really cool. When I saw that, I was like, there's still people listening to the podcast. I haven't been posting, which was a great sign, which was a great sign knowing that like I could step back for like basically 6 months, almost a year. I haven't really been posting that much. And it's still doing well on its own, which I was like, man, that is a great sign. And one of the greatest signs that the podcast is something that's very special, because sometimes you don't know something is like special, like when you're in it, like I didn't know the effect the podcast was fully having until I would go out and people would come up to me in the streets. But the interesting thing was I never really marketed the podcast that much. Like I just kind of would reshare people's stories. But the thing was, y'all are so amazing. Y'all really shared the podcast and y'all like really shared it with your friends. Like it was a word of mouth podcast. It wasn't something that I made tons of like promotion for. It was like a word of mouth podcast. It was very organic, which is interesting because it's actually very difficult for podcasts to grow. So when I took this break and I thought about that, I was like, man, I saw Erica Badu say something. She's like, what comes easy to you? And do that. I was like, the podcast did come easy. It grew easy. So let's master that. Let's double down on that. This has been a really good live so far. I'm really enjoying this live. Um, Sorry to people on YouTube. I'm on YouTube. It's probably vertical right now, but yeah, it's all good. It's all good. We'll get a couple more questions in, and then I do gotta go back home after that. I gotta drive tomorrow to the States. Let's see what questions. How do you deal with people who drain your energy? I don't really have that many people around me, but again, just boundaries. If someone's draining my energy, then you have to have that question like, well, what kind of access am I going to allow them to have to me? Because if the effect of being around them all the time is just draining me, this isn't a net positive. So there needs to be some clear boundaries, which requires communication. So that's kind of really it. And then also maybe even questioning like, why do they drain my energy? Like, what is it about this relationship with them that is draining? Because I don't think, people need to uplift you every time. Like sometimes people may be a little bit draining because they're like dumping a lot on us, but sometimes they may really uplift us. But if someone is only draining, that is like something we really need to question. Like that's not good. Where are you at right now? And what are you? I'm in my studio. So my studio is about 5 minutes from my house. And what camera am I using? I'm using a Sony series, Sony FX3. But like to be honest, like the last three cameras I've had are all Sony, and like I produce the same image on all of them. Even though the one I have now is better, it's like I have a softbox light. There's actually a light above me, like right here. So as you can see my hand. You can see there's light, boom, boom on my hand. So that light is coming down. That's why it's producing a little bit of a shadow. But there's also a little bit of light from the laptop, right? So if I turn the laptop a little bit off, it gets a little bit darker on my face, a little bit lighter, not that much. But watch this. Actually, no, that's not gonna do much. Yeah, and then practical lights are really good in your videos. So practical lights are just lights that you have in your environment, like you would have in your home, like lamps. So, I like really warm colors. So often you're always gonna see warm lights in the background, and because like my studio is very wood adjacent, it kind of just matches what I like, the wood elements and stuff like that. So um it's sometimes it's not necessarily the camera. Like the camera can will produce a good camera will produce a great image, but a lot of the time it is the environment you build, right? Like it's the aesthetic you build, and that environment should just match you, right? Like everyone has a style, like everyone knows what colors they like. Everyone can walk into a furniture store and point at a couch they like and a couch they don't like. So you just start to really take notice of the things you like, and you double down on your interests, right? You just like one thing I'm good at is I know what I like and I know what I don't like. Like, and that's just simple. Like I hear something, I know if I like it, I know I don't like it. I see something, I know I like it, I don't like it, and I just stay true to that. So that's how we develop our style, and then you just rock it. Do you grow any plants? I used to in the past, but to be honest, like just it gets cold in the wintertime in my house and then the plants just die. So at this point, I feel guilty on buying new plants all the time and them just dying. So I have a couple small plants at home that are doing all right. And then like the plant on that light is not real. It's fake. I had a real one. I had a beautiful real one on there, and then it died within weeks. And I was like, well, I'm not going to keep buying a plant every 3 weeks just for a video. That'd be insane. So that one on the light is fake. But I love plants. I think it brings a beautiful energy into a home, like real plants. But I had to just be real. I'm like, yo, my environment and like the lighting and how cold it gets in the wintertime, it's just not good. I live in Canada. It gets cold, and like my house doesn't have like I don't know, it just gets colder in my house in the wintertime like this. It's like the cold comes right through the windows. So I can't contain like a good environment for the plants. Someone says, "Yo, brother Hines, I just got here. What? Oh, you missed a lot, man. We've been here for an hour and a half. We're coming close to the ending, but I will leave the live up. I will leave the live up. But because I love plants, of course, yeah, I like to have like some in the studio still, some that just match the aesthetic, even if it's a fake one. Someone says, "What state?" Well, I'm in British Columbia right now. I'm in Vancouver. I just gotta go. I gotta go to Seattle tomorrow for something, so I'll just be driving into Washington, and then yeah, but just a day trip up there and back. Like I literally live 30 minutes from the American border, which is cool. It's cool, which is cool. What piece of philosophy or advice has changed your creative mindset? I would say Rick Rubin's book, The Creative Act, The Way of Being. That's kind of a philosophy in its own way. That's really helping my creative process right now. Um, and then also just like observing my own process. Like I've come up with many realizations myself that I've shared through my content that was a reflection of my creative process. Like for me, I realized that my religion is kind of just creativity, like, or it's just like creative process. And I think life is just creative. Like, I think we are all artists. Like, even if you don't paint or like do pottery or music, like, you're still an artist because you're creating a life. And that to me is artistry. And through that, through that process of like just creating whatever we're building in our life and, creating ourselves because we're building ourselves up. Like, we have a vision of ourselves and then we are creating that. You may have a vision of what you want your body to be like, and then you eat the foods you need to eat, and you go to the gym and you do that, or you have an idea of what you want to look like, your style, and then you create that. That is creative to me. So we're all we're all artists, and through that observation, I've just had so many realizations about life, and I kind of use that creative process as like a self development tool. I use it as self improvement. I use it as like that is like my spiritual journey. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm more and that's what I like about Rick Rubin is he kind of his philosophy is very much the same. Like his religion is his creative process. Like he learns a lot about his emotions and life lessons and his own ways through that process because our process will reveal your insecurities. That process will reveal your ego. It will reveal your strengths, your weaknesses, and teach you how to overcome hurdles and how to pivot, how to give yourself grace, how to put yourself out there or, how to take care of yourself. It can teach you so much. So that is kind of like my philosophy in itself. And it will be for life because I just think someone says learn more about the Quran. I actually have the Quran at home. I actually have read quite a bit. I've read quite a bit, and also I have a friend that's doing his Islamic studies right now in South Africa. Who, anytime we talk, he shares more about the Quran with me. The truth is, I'm not going to join a religion though. That's just the truth. I've studied almost every faith, not to the full context. The most knowledge I have when it comes to a faith would be Old Testament and New Testament would be the gospel. That's the most, and I've read quite a bit of like the Gita, but I have most when it comes to knowledge on religions or like world faiths, most of my knowledge is in the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament. But I have read parts of the Quran. And obviously, same prophets, same prophets. Just like stories are kind of adjusted. Day one of practicing celibacy today. While in a 6-year relationship, I want to learn to love everything but my partner and focus on her as a whole. Yeah, celibacy in relationships is really interesting. I have a buddy right now that's doing that as well, and it's very interesting for him. So I think that's amazing. I've actually talked about that before. That like celibacy doesn't always have to be an individual journey. It can be in a relationship as well because you can kind of focus on other aspects of the relationship at times. So yeah, I think that's cool. That's cool. Someone said the Bible. Sorry, we weren't really talking about the Bible. Someone just mentioned something, and then we quickly got into like a religion topic. But this live has not really been about that. because I don't really want to get to religion because then we're gonna start getting comments like this and stuff, and then like you get all like division. Like, you know, I don't want like a Christian Islamic debate in my comment section right now, which I can already see starting to bubble up. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna dive back into other things. How do you communicate boundaries? You just literally have to say the words. I think you have to maybe create the environment to communicate the boundaries, right? So maybe ask yourself, what is the best environment or what is the best time and space I can communicate these boundaries? But like, you know what your boundaries need to be. You just need to find the vocabulary you need to use them. And sometimes the the environment, like maybe texting isn't going to be the best thing. It maybe needs to be intentional so the person can hear your tonality and see that your boundaries aren't coming from a place where you're like trying to reject them, but you're actually just trying to preserve your relationship with healthy boundaries. And sometimes you just need to be looking at each other so you can actually, have that context. Tough to create boundaries with family members. You still making beats, fam? Yeah, I was making beats today, but like, I think I don't really make like tracks anymore. Like, it's more just like sounds. It's more like loops I make, ideas that I can kind of use for my videos and things like that. I was saying earlier, like, I think for me to commit to actually making instrumentals that I release as like records, it's gonna take me committing in a whole other way. And I think I would need like a real year to do that. But like, sound is like the blueprint for my creative process. So like, even if I'm just trying to come up with like podcast ideas, I quickly just like make something. Or you know what I really love doing now is I really love Serato stems. So I love just taking like old records I love and like breaking down the stems. And I'm like, oh, that's amazing because you can hear at least the bass now, the melody, the vocals separated. And then a lot of the times I get ideas and then I'll just make a quick little beat in stems. And then like when I'm ready, I'm gonna take I'm gonna take those beats into Ableton and then get a little bit more dirty with them, get a little bit more in depth. But like for me to like focus and be like I'm gonna be a music producer would be counterproductive to what I'm doing because it would just take so much energy and time, and I'm not trying to grow in that industry. But music is just such an important part of my process that like developing more skills and strengthening my ear would be really valuable for what I do, not as a music producer, but just as a creative who needs sound and needs original sound a lot of the times for my process. Do you have a stem player? Yeah, I actually do have a stem player. I do have a stem player. I have Kanye's stem player. I just haven't really used it much. You know what the cool thing is now is that like because of like software and all the AI that's now built into software, it's never been easier to make beats, especially if you have zero music theory knowledge. Like there's so many sounds on actually there's almost too many sounds on the internet. Like sometimes when there's too much, it's kind of an overload. But there's so many samples, there's so many loops that you can play with. And there's so much like software now that makes everything easy. Like in Serato stems or whatever it's called, Serato DJ or whatever you do, the beat making one, Serato Studio, you can just hit a button that says play in key, and then anything you play is gonna be in key. Like you don't even need to know music theory. You don't even need to know technically if you're hitting the right key or not. It's all gonna be in key, right? That's AI. So like it's never been like easier to like make something. And then with YouTube, it's like there's just like the producer lane on YouTube is really cool. They have so many videos teaching people how to make it. So like we live in the golden era of like just doing whatever you want to do because it's like it's much easier. It's easier to make videos, it's easier to make music. It was a lot harder like 10 years ago, to be honest. It's a lot harder 12 years ago, 14 years ago. It was a lot harder. There was less information, there was less access, there was less AI built in. So now it's just like yo, go off. It's easy. Like there's never been a better time. Like the fact, like just the amount of things your phone can do. Like you can make beats on your phone. Like you can make really good stuff on your phone. It's insane. I know people who fully just use their iPad, make videos, edit, like sound design on iPad, make beats on iPad, record into their iPad for the podcast. That's like insane to me. Like I couldn't even imagine that like a decade ago. Yo, shout out to Felix on YouTube who just sent a donation. It's his birthday. Happy birthday. Celebrate yourself. Another cycle, another year. That is beautiful. Serato, is that a DAW? I don't really think it's a DAW, but like in Serato, you can make beats. It's kind of like I look at Serato like a Serato Studio, like a drawing board. So you can get ideas out quick, but you're going to have to take it into a DAW to really do your mixing, right? You're not going to be mixing in Serato Studio. Do you think it takes away from true talent? Um, yes and no. Yes and no. All I think it does, it takes away is sometimes the patience, like the patience it requires to like make something really good. Sometimes it can take time. And because we live in this like quick generation, sometimes we may not have that patience and we just want to have quick results. But also it doesn't, because sometimes it just makes the process a little bit easier where you can focus on other things, so you can get other ideas out. So I don't think it does stump your creativity. It doesn't have to, but it can, right? You just have to know how to use it. Use it for its strengths, right? Use it for its strengths, right? And to elevate your weaknesses, but still try to develop your weaknesses and whatnot. Um, yeah. But like also like, somebody who does photography with a film camera is always going to understand their aperture, their ISO. They're always going to understand lighting a little bit better than someone who I think just uses a digital or uses their iPhone, right? Because their iPhone, you're not even thinking about any of that. The iPhone kind of has AI built in and it's just handling everything for you. So there's obviously an aspect to like traditional creative processes and hardware that I think develop certain things in you that will separate you from others. So I think it's like maybe we should use the software, use the AI that makes things easier. But if you can also go back into the past and learn these like traditional assets, I think would make you separate. Like that YouTube channel on that YouTube DJ channel, My Digital Analog, right? All analog DJs. And there's a different vibe to that, right? There's something different because they do analog. Not everyone can mix music analog with like classic turntables like that. And that just has its own vibe and it's appreciated and that channel's huge, right? So there is something to that still. Yeah, it's almost like the cracking of the knuckle. I crack my knuckles. That makes sense. Yeah, for sure. For sure. This was can I ask a question? Someone says I love my guy, but he doesn't have a job yet. It does take a toll on our relationship. I don't know like the depth of your I don't know the depth of your relationship. I'm also not a relationship guru. I don't know how old you are. I'm gonna say like, if you're in your 40s, he doesn't have a job and he doesn't have a job, he hasn't had a job for a very long time, then that's kind of like, is he really gonna get one? But if he's young and he's just figuring it out, I don't know. Like if he's genuinely lazy, then maybe you gotta have that conversation with him. But like it's kind of, I don't know the context of your situation. So I really like I'm really I don't like to pretend like I just know everything or like or whatnot. I don't think there's like a simple answer to like every question at times, especially without context. But like obviously like, if someone is lazy and like maybe if you have to like pay for everything and you're also like doing your best and you're struggling and like they're making it harder for yourself, that has to be a conversation because it's like, yo, bro, you're draining me because you're not able to bring any resources to this equation. And if they're not doing anything to do so, like if they're grinding and they're trying, but things aren't just clicking, that's one thing. But like if bro's just playing video games and it's like, yeah, bro, like what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, figure it out. Do you have any new hobbies you want to try out? There are, but I don't really want to commit myself to like if I do anything new, maybe like I would like to get into something that's completely opposite of what I do and just like have it for myself, like not something that like I post or like monetize, you know? Like I really like kayaking. So like, summer's coming. I really want to kayak more. I love that. So that's a hobby. Shout out to KB527. I appreciate you on YouTube. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Do you think college education is worth it? I think it depends. Now like I think like we're in an era where it's like, oh, man, it kind of sucks to accumulate so much debt. And it's like obviously certain jobs or career paths you still need, that secondary education, college or university. I think maybe it could be cool for the experience, the community, if that's what somebody wants. I don't think it's like necessary for like a good career, especially like in a massively changing job market and stuff like that. So um like with my daughter, I'm like, I don't really have the pressure that she has to go to college. And I'm always kind of like, if you go, like, at least just do something you like, or like go to a school that's cool where you can like learn a culture. I don't know, something different. But if I was 18 years old, would I go to college? I wouldn't personally, just because I like when I was like when I was 18, like being a creative wasn't even like a viable career. I was just a psycho, a crazy person. And I was just like, well, I'm gonna just make it. But like now it's like the creative economy is insane. It's like more than possible for many people, right? And now there's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur. But it's like everyone doesn't have to be an entrepreneur either, right? Like that's not for everybody either. Like neither or is better. It all depends on what you want. And like for some, college is an amazing experience where they develop great friendships and they get to study so many different things and figure out what their interests are. So like again, it really comes down to your own self observation. But it kind of sucks if there's pressure on that decision, right? Like sometimes our families obviously pressure us because like obviously sometimes family may just have an old school linear thinking and they just think like if you don't do that, you're a failure. But yeah, you should do spaces on Twitter. Yeah, I've never done spaces on Twitter. We could do that. We could do that. How do you build up your confidence? My confidence never really happens from thinking. It always happens when I'm just showing up for myself, right? Like showing up. Like, of course, affirmations are good and like telling myself, I can boost my energy up to be confident, but showing up for myself, action, at least trying, sometimes, the other day I was in here trying to like make some music and like nothing was happening. Everything sounded like complete shit. Nothing was even like a potential vibe. And that kind of hurts your confidence. But then I shifted right away and I was like, you know what? You still came in here and did a push up. Like you still tried. And then, quickly again, reminding myself that at least I had action, at least I showed up, and then I felt confident. So yeah, confidence for me is just showing up for myself and improving. And usually when you show up for yourself, in the long run, you'll realize you're better than you even knew. Like I think I'm really inspired by human potential and self discovery. So I think there's gifts within us that we aren't even aware, and strengths within us that we aren't even aware of. Like we may think, oh, I can do this, but like we don't even know our full potential. And that's just a journey. So that's like what I am inspired by and like, showing off. Like I love hearing stories about people who were like really shy and insecure, but now they like are touring artists or like they speak to people or what they do something that's completely opposite from what they thought they would ever do, right? And that's that untapped human potential that they tap themselves into, that seed that was planted within their spirit and they just cultivated over time and then, they became surprised by themselves. I think that's really cool. And I think that's what inspires me. I'm always like, what don't I know about myself? Like I'm never like, I know myself. I know what I know about myself up to this point. But I'm always like, what don't I know about myself? Right. And that inspires me. Curiosity. If I don't have confidence, I lean into curiosity, just like the what if. Like, what if? Like, I don't know. I'm not really confident that maybe I can pull this off, but like, what if, and I just kind of become curious. And for me, curiosity is like very important because I always say, it has like the spirit of a child. Children are very curious. They're very playful. They have tons of questions, like a child will just ask you like random questions out of nowhere because they're curious about life, which is like a great space to be in because there's hope, right? When you're curious, you're willing to wonder, you're willing to use your imagination, you're willing to like go in different directions, like when I was a kid, I'd be curious and I would just leave my neighborhood. I literally just walk away. My mom would get so mad at me, but I literally just like disappear because I was curious. I wanted a journey. Yeah, like we'd be in the mall and I would just take off. I was curious, and I think I'm still like that. Shout out to Mel Martinez. Thank you to the fam on YouTube sending donations. I really appreciate it. Y'all are really blessed. It's 5:55 in South Africa. Shout out to all my South Africans. We usually be playing to mama piano, but for some reason, Instagram just don't let you play music. Like as soon as I play music, they just kick me out, and I don't know why. Because I see DJs on here playing music in their lives, and they don't get kicked out. You know what's crazy too? TikTok took away my ability to go live. I don't even know why. They hating. Like I literally want to start a campaign, like let Heinz go live again on TikTok. Like that's why I don't even really post over there because I'm kind of like, yo, like y'all took away my ability to go live, like for no reason. Like my lives were always like a positive, safe space. So I don't even know what's going on over there. How did you find out what you're passionate about? Um, I think it was just trying things, right? Like when I did video, I didn't do video until later. Like, I had no idea I liked video. I had a mentor that did video and then I tried it one day. He gave me the software. He cracked the software for me and then he gave me some footage. He shot a video for me when I was a music producer at the time, beat maker. And so I was editing some of my own footage that he shot and I made a video and it was pretty good. Like anyone that kind of knows me from a long time ago when I started doing video, everyone knows how quickly it took off for me. Within 1 year, I was like I was like living in Hollywood, like traveling with artists. But the first time I made a video, I was like, hey, I'm kind of good at this. Like, got a natural knack, and then the passion from there developed. But it just trying things. You don't know. Like we don't know sometimes what we're good at until we try. Give it a chance, and then like if you genuinely enjoy it, like it all comes from enjoyment. But then the thing is also like what you're passionate about, you're not always gonna enjoy. There's gonna be times where like you're not like enjoying it or it's not full of joy, but that's where you have to get creative and like find ways to bring the joy in, right? Even YouTube for me, sometimes I'm like, I gotta find different ways to be excited about it. Sometimes I'm not. Live streaming is like the thing that brings me the most excitement. So what am I doing now? I'm doing more live streaming because that's what excites me. Before, like 2 years ago, I just loved shooting. Like 3 years ago, I didn't even live stream. Like the idea of live streaming like wasn't appealing to me or like scared me. So it really kind of just goes off of like what do we enjoy and then dive into that. And then like again, we have so much access now that like cool thing about the internet is like you can go on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok and find like an influencer for like anything like someone that does pottery, someone that sews, someone that started a business, someone that loves moth, like bees, someone that cultivates honey. Like I've seen people who during the pandemic they started making chocolate. And then you can dive into there. Like there's just so much inspiration and information and like anything you want to learn, you can kind of get into, which I think we take for granted. It's like when there's so much information, sometimes we don't know where to start. It's like I remember back in the day when I was in Los Angeles, this is like over 10 years ago. And my first time at the In and Out Burger place. And I realized I'm like, oh man, the menu here is so limited, but I liked it because when you go to some places, especially when it's new and the menu just has a million things and you're just like, what am I supposed to eat? Like, simplify this for me. But In and Out, they really only have like one burger or like you can kind of modify it. Like, I think it's like one burger and some like wild fries or something. Like, it's not a big menu. And sometimes like the simplicity is nice. So sometimes I think because we have so much access and information to things, like we bounce all around. So I think it's important to focus, like focus, give things a chance, try something, commit, give yourself a few months and really, get over that learning curve and like that anxiety and see if you enjoy it. And if you don't, well, we have the freedom and the grace to then try something else. There's a lot of things we can try with not too much of a financial burden. And then, if you do enjoy it, then you can find ways to invest in it and develop that skill. But I think you should just have like the spirit of curiosity and trying things. And like, like a year and a half ago, I tried pottery. It was cool. But then I realized I wasn't in a space to fully commit, but I still tried it. That was cool. I'd love to try it again at another point, but at least, I got my toes wet. Someone said, "Where did you get your jacket from?" Oh, Edika, let me tell you. I've been looking for this jacket forever. So like obviously some of Bob Marley's interviews, you could see his team, and I think even him, they're wearing like this exact jacket. This is their tour jacket. This is basically like the Bob tour jacket. It doesn't have no like writing on it. But like I was in Japan. In Japan, in Tokyo, they have a thrift district. And in this thrift district, it's the most wild thing ever. Like it's like 100 or 200 stores, like vintage and thrift stores, like in an area. And like there's just like I told myself I will never shop again at home here in Canada because it's a waste of my money. I will literally just go back to Tokyo to shop. But anyways, in this district, I'm shopping, I'm buying things, and I walk, and then the corner of my eye, I see this jacket. I'm like, oh my god, I've been looking for that jacket my whole life. I've literally looked on the internet. I found like I found like different versions of it, or I found one that had like a lion on it, but I didn't want that one. And I saw it. I was like, oh my god, like this is I literally been looking for this jacket ever since I saw that interview clip with Bob Marley, and I was like, yo, this is my jacket. I think literally because when you create a lot of content, like it's kind of ridiculous to try to find a new outfit every time. So I was like, like I feel like when I live stream, like on different platforms, it's kind of like me touring. Like I'm gonna go tour, and today I'm going to Instagram, or today I'm going to YouTube, or right now I'm on both. Shout out to everybody on YouTube and Instagram. So I'm like, this is gonna be my tour live jacket. Like this is the jacket I wear on live stream, because I cannot. I want to live stream every day almost, and like I'm not really trying to find a new outfit every single day. So I just rock the jacket, have different things underneath. But yeah, I'm very happy about this jacket. What age did you have your first spiritual awakening? I don't know. I don't really like to actually use the term spiritual awakening, but I would say, mid 20s is when I was starting to have more intention with life, and I was becoming interested with things that we deem to be spiritual, or at least more inner discovery. And I would just say more intention with my life. So I became mindful of what I consume, more mindful of my emotions, implementing practices into my life that maybe we can say heightens our spiritual relationship. Um, yeah. What can we Canadian creators do with the new bill? Man, I literally do not know. That bill annoys me. I'm actually in the process of getting an American visa right now. It's just a lot of paperwork because I was like not sure what we could do, and it's like it seems like nobody in Canada even cares. I mean, obviously there's a community of people that care, but I think in Canada people aren't really aware of what's going on. So it's just kind of like out of sight, out of mind. But the fact that they're kind of putting their fingerprints on the internet like that would bother me. So for me, I'm gonna try and actually get an American visa and like kind of just operate my stuff in an American way. But I don't know what we can do. All we can do is technically next election cycle vote out the people that put in these things. That's all I can say. Like I don't know. I hate that feeling of feeling hopeless in it, but like when it comes to politics and stuff, it's like man, it's like sometimes it's like what can we do when like you have certain leaders in charge that are like out of touch or that are like act like dictators. For quick context, there's like a new bill in Canada called Bill C-11. Basically, the government says this is a bill to help content creators, and they want to like tax big media corporations. But if you look into the bill, the language is very loose, and it basically gives them the control to also moderate user-generated content. Basically, they want to kind of be able to have a little bit of power of what ends up on feeds. So like when you watch a video, YouTube recommends you more videos based on what you watch. Well, here in Canada, it would be like our recommendations would just be based kind of on Canada, the Canadian government deciding of like them pushing more Canadian content to us. It would kind of create like a bubble for us. And then for creators, it could ruin things financially for us since we're not like it's kind of a tricky thing. But the problem with the bill is it's very loose, and if you have the wrong person in power, it just can be such a slippery slope. You know what I'm saying? Um, there's a big push. I feel like to like take control over the internet in many different countries. How long have you been on your log journey? Actually quite a long time. Like more than I admit sometimes. I think it's been like 8 years. I think it's been like 8 years. But yeah, the bill. You can search up the bill. I personally would say I think the government is kind of lying when they say that they're doing it to help creators, because the creative community in Canada pretty much unanimously is like against it, and they've said that many times. But the government kind of just has their own agenda. Um, it's really unfortunate, to be honest. It really actually caused a lot of was it anxiety or just like anger? I'm not sure the quite emotions that it caused for me, but I would say like the last few years, politics has riled up my spirit to the point where, as of lately, I've had to kind of unplug completely because at times I'm like, I can't control everything. I can't control what's going on, so I just had to focus what we can focus on, what we do have control over. I've shared about it in my stories and things like that. But yeah, often what happens is I feel like politicians or governments will introduce bills and they pretend like it's going to help people. So what this government does is they really emphasize that it's going to help POC or LGBTQ people, but I believe they use these groups, right? And technically, I'm a person of color, even though I don't like that term, but like technically they use these groups as a token, to like give their bill the gloss it needs to make it look like it's a positive thing, but it's a very slippery slope. And I believe there is another agenda behind it. Um, and similar things are happening in America, right? Like with the TikTok bill, it's kind of framed to protect data, right? But I think if you look at the bill, there's things in there that gives the government more control over certain things through that bill. So a lot of times, like bills have headlines, but in the bills are very long and lengthy, right? So the headline of the bill is kind of, like when you see a news article and the headline says one thing, but you go into the article and then you get the context. That's like bills. And bills often only the headline of the bill gets trending in the media or on social platforms. And sometimes we don't look at the actual bill and then you realize you're like, oh, they're adding things in here that like aren't in our best interest. But the headline of the bill sounds like it's in our best interest. So like it's kind of like I think people in power play off of us sometimes not being aware or like educating ourselves, because like how are we supposed to educate ourselves on everything? It's like we're busy. We're just trying to survive out here. We're trying to pay our bills. And it's like I think they take advantage of that, kind of take advantage of us. But yeah. For me personally, like I used to like Canada, but in the last since 2020, there's nothing more I want but to leave. I'm like the only good thing I like about Canada is my Canadian passport, because like a lot of us in the West, we often forget, having an American passport, having a Canadian passport, and like probably like a UK passport, those are like golden tickets. There's many passports in the world that don't give you access to other countries, or like to get there, you got to go through visas and things like that. It's like some places it's just hard to leave your country and go somewhere. But having like an American passport, Canadian passport, and a few others, like it's almost like a golden ticket. So I am grateful for that. You know, there's obviously a couple other things I'm grateful for. I love the environment where I live. You know, I love the nature and things like that. But um, I just think like the country has gone in a weird direction. But I really don't want to get too deep into that. It's quite depressing. This has been like a very good live, to be honest. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Instagram. Um, this is amazing. Like I said, I'm trying to really try to make live streams more like my forte and the podcast. Um, I like the engagement. I like the intimacy between it. But I do gotta wrap up here. I'm gonna answer like one or two more questions, three questions. Thank you, Mel Martinez, for the donation on YouTube. Shout out to that. Someone said visit Sedona. I'm actually gonna be driving down to California soon, and then I want to kind of zip around to like Arizona. And someone yesterday just mentioned, actually, my mom said you should go check out Sedona. So I was like, maybe I'll do that. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Yeah, someone says they in Brazil and they struggling with some economic and political matters. Yeah, it sucks. You know what the craziest thing is? It's like we the people, it's like we are actually the ones that hold the power. But it's like I really feel like politicians play on our division, right? Like a lot of people, they know they remain powerful if we are divided, if we are polarized, and we become polarized through these cultural wars, and we forget, like our humanity from one another, and then we start to look at people like our enemy and the opposite side as like evil, and then it's like together our unity, even through our differences, because we're also different. That is actually our power. Like anyone in power is only in power because like technically we elect them. Like yeah, maybe sometimes it's like maybe there's things happening behind the scenes, but technically, like you see what's happening in other countries, like when they protest, like when people come together and they decide like no more, there's not much you can do. Like, people can shut, the people are in power. And that's what I liked about certain artists like Bob Marley. He had like this gift of bringing like anybody together. Didn't matter your race, age, sex, where you were from. It's like everyone resonated with his message. A Rastafarian from Jamaica, a tiny island, able to go to Europe and like have thousands and thousands and thousands of people just sing a song about one love. And I love that. So I think the last couple of years were very divided and polarized. It was really, through the pandemic, and like the delay effect of the pandemic is still there. There's so much polarization. And I think there's like still healing to be done. But I think we have to have hope for the future still, and know that things can get better. It's why I really try to understand people who don't have the same views as me. Sometimes people get angry at me and they'll be like, hey, why do you follow this person? They're not good. I'm like, why? How do you even know why I follow someone? Like I literally follow some people I don't like, just so like I don't live in an affirmation bubble. But I think like we have like such a tribalized society sometimes that like we forget like, hey, sometimes there's certain people like I don't agree with, but then they'll say something and like I'm like, oh, they got a good point, and that like humbles you, right? Sometimes people become so divided that they won't even admit when someone they don't like is right, out of their own pride and like just not liking that person. So I like to remind myself and refresh myself, and like my feeds sometimes reflect just I like my feeds to at times to reflect society. So to reflect a diverse view of opinions, so I don't become closed-minded, and I am aware that, oh yeah, there's other people out there with different views from me, and at times, I may feel like I'm right or I am more aligned in a certain topic, but at times they teach me something through something they post. So, that's kind of like how I approach things. And it really helps because you're less triggered by people and you're less triggered by like opinions. Like, I'm not triggered by someone who has a different opinion than me. I'm not triggered from someone who has a completely different belief from me. I'm more like, yo, that's interesting. I think it's really interesting how like, there's so many people in the world and it's like two people can come to two completely opposite conclusions and both think, there is the right way. That to me is cool. It's like diversity. It's unique. Have you visited the Dominican Republic? No, No, I haven't. Um, I've only been to the Caribbean. I've only been to Jamaica and the Caribbean, and then I've been to Brazil. Brazil was a vibe when I went there. Brazil was a big vibe. My favorite places have probably been Japan, India was really cool. Brazil, everywhere I've been is really cool. But I think just because, I really enjoy Japan, I think Japan is my favorite, which is crazy because I normally like the tropical environment. And I was in Tokyo, this is the city, but I liked it. So I'm actually going to Africa in June. So that's going to be a big trip for me. That's a really cool opportunity. I gotta finish the details on that here. And then yeah, I'm trying to do more traveling, trying to get out into the world, trying to yeah, just step out, have more experiences. I'm gonna have to log off now. This was a great live. You know what always happens with my lives? So 2 days ago I went live, and then like an hour in, I'm like, okay, I gotta get off soon. And then 2 hours in, I'm like, okay, a couple more questions. I ended up on live for 5 hours. 5 hours. That's crazy. It's 5 hours. I was on live for 5 hours. And then this live, I'm like, I'm gonna do an hour. And it's been 3 hours. Has it been 3 hours? Yeah, it's been 3 hours, I think. Yeah, 3 hours. 3 hours, big vibes. Just to refresh, the podcast is coming back soon. Very soon. I'm just working on like the launch of it. Working on like a slightly different format, still short form, but I also do want to implement some longer episodes as well. But like short form, daily, similar vibe, but I'm hoping to evolve it and really double down. I really want to make that my thing, and then like more live streaming. So I don't know when I live stream. I kind of just go on when I feel like it, but you know, I'll be live streaming here more on YouTube and on Instagram. And yeah, thank you for everyone for being very patient. I appreciate it. Also, everyone that's purchased our reminder deck, that's amazing. I barely marketed it, and kind of like I barely marketed it. I feel bad about that, but like I'm going to soon. But I appreciate everyone that supported on, and everyone that just tunes in. Like that support is amazing. So love, 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 y'all. I shall tap in again very soon. Wednesday, I'll probably go live again. One love.